What's up, and welcome to the Los Wise Guys podcast. I'm your host, Eslam, aka Rock God of the Sun, accompanied by Dan Papa Sun Killer and Dan Emperor Disco. How you
I don't like this.
motherfuckers doing?
I don't like when he has this much energy. It upsets me.
He's gonna fizzle
I'm not
out
a
in
fan.
2 seconds, but I'm
Exactly. It's
enjoying
like
it. I'm enjoying it.
he's burning bright right now.
I know
He's not gonna last much longer.
that was pretty
Oh,
hot. I liked it.
yeah. Well, that's why I'm drinking Coke, guys. I'm trying to get that sugar in me.
That's what it is. The
You know,
sugar hides it.
why does that can look so small in your hand? That's the smallest looking can I've ever seen for
That
some
sounds a
reason.
giant.
It's a regular can.
I'm just
Oh,
saying, it
thank
looks
you.
small.
Thank
Can't
you
say
for
it. It
telling
looks
me I
small.
have big hands. Because my girl
You're
makes
welcome.
fun of them all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
It does look.
well, I
little,
guess she's
yeah.
right. Like,
What?
why are your fingers wrapped that far around it?
I feel like you could palm your own head and just lift
Yeah,
yourself
like
up.
that's crazy.
No,
You have a
she makes fun
normally
of my
large
hand.
hand.
No, she
Yeah.
makes fun of my hand because she thinks they're small.
Oh, okay. Oh, she said that you can't hold a Whopper.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's what she's.
Bro, I'm
That's
saying you
exactly
could
what
you
she's
could hold
saying.
the triple. You could hold the
Oh,
triple, in
thanks,
my
bro.
opinion.
Damn. You
Yeah.
hear that, Nadia?
Yeah.
Triple Whopper.
Those are
Speaking of
definitely
Whoppers,
triple whopper hands.
speaking of Whoppers, I have family here visiting, and we ordered some Burger King. My mom wants some Burger King. I was like, all right, we can do that, and we got Whoppers,
Hmm.
and you could only get the Whoppers without cheese. So remember in high school when I used to bring in cheese,
They don't have cheese with the Whoppers?
you have to specifically ask for a Whopper with
Oh,
cheese.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
Oh,
that's the thing
right.
in high
School
school.
for
Yeah,
school lunches. Yeah, they used to get
yeah.
the.
I used to come in with cheese. Like, yo, who needs some cheese? Just dealing
Yo,
cheese.
Dan used to be slinging cheese in high school, bro.
Cheese
School.
dealer. He's like, got what you need.
Yo, you want Gouda, cheddar, so what? Pepper jack? What
Yeah,
you
man. They
want?
used to
I
call
got
me
all
Ricotta Flair.
Monterey.
Remember that one? Ricotta Flair.
ricotta flair.
There it is.
Oh, that's amazing. Used to peddle cheese in fucking high school. My God.
That's what you do.
Well, everybody, welcome to this special episode of Los Wise Guys podcast. And the reason why it's special because this episode is about a show that comes from a game that is very special to all our hearts. Now, it is very rare that all three of us play the same game. And
I think it's only ever happened like twice. Yeah.
yeah. So it's amazing that this specific game got turned into a show, but it's not surprising. It's such a great story that it needed to be adapted, but it needed to be adapted by the right people.
Hmm.
And HBO Max was those right people, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that, but we are gonna be reviewing The Last of Us, HBO Max episode 1. It released this past Sunday, and whew, my God, man, I was. Now, this first part is going to be non spoilers. We'll keep it non spoilers. I will warn you when the spoilers are going to come in. But my God, I was not ready for these emotions again, and they brought in so much emotions. I was not ready for. I'm going through so much stress with this goddamn wedding, getting ready for it and shit, and then they hit me right in the feels again. It was like PTSD all over, and but oof, that was an amazing first episode, man. So fucking good. It was long, but it was worth it. I actually had to watch it in two separate sittings because I was like, I need a break. And I'm already taking breaks from the show. Like, goddamn, like I was not ready for this, but
And it really hit you, Jesus.
Damn, it wasn't
it
that
re-
long.
it
I
really
was
did.
like,
It's
that's
not about
crazy.
the length.
This is what's
Like
happening.
It's the
Like
pace.
you
yeah.
did remember what was gonna happen, right? Or
Oh,
did
no,
you
no, no.
completely forget?
No, I know exactly what's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's just like
I
they
did
did.
forget for a second. I was like,
I'm sure
"Who's
one of
this?"
you was gonna
I
forget.
was like, "Who's this chick?" And then
Yeah.
it dawned on me. I was like, "Oh, that's why I barely forgot her. She was in the game for like 5 seconds."
Yeah,
First
so
person you play as.
yeah, so it was really well done. Definitely brought in the emotions. It was fantastic,
Hmm.
and the opening scene was man got me like it gave me fucking anxiety.
The guy from the Mummy.
Yeah, that motherfucker. So. i- Like that conversation, I have it clipped out, and we'll watch it in a little bit. But
Mhm.
that conversation, especially after a pandemic, gave me fucking anxiety. And then we go into the show and stuff, and um, you see what happens with the characters, and like I remember all like the emotions and stuff like that, and it's just like, yeah, I had to like take a break and you know. But that was my experience with the first episode. But I loved every second of it either way, and I'm super fucking excited for the rest of the show because, like, HBO has been on fire, man. Like last year got House of the Dragons, phenomenal show,
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker, and now we're starting off the year with The Last of Us, and it's just gonna be, it's just phenomenal stuff. And I don't know if you guys noticed or at least got the same feeling I have. The opening for The
Game
Last
of
of
Thrones
Us
opening.
was
Yeah.
very Game of Thrones esque. So I don't know, I enjoyed it. But who wants to go next? Tell us about their initial thoughts about the first episode.
I think Disco would like to go.
God,
I knew I was going to get you with that. I knew I was going to get you with
you
that.
son
Scrambling.
you
I
ah.
sneaky sneaky.
I bet he just went straight to you, Disco. He didn't even say, "Are you sure?" Like, no, he just took my word for it. Yeah, no, Disco's ready.
Nah, that's what you get.
I try to keep the game separate, but it didn't even really matter at the end
Yeah.
because it was just a phenomenal show. Pedro killed it. Lady Mormont killed it. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot her name. But
Bella
they did
Ramsey.
they
Bella
did a
Ramsey.
phenomenal job, and it was just it just really for me and captured the game because I really felt like this was a nice adaptation. They had some very similar scenes to the game. I saw some like comparisons
I have
uh,
that. I will show
Bro,
you
later.
like
later. Yeah.
Yeah,
exact scenes.
Yeah.
yeah,
At some
and
points.
and
Yeah.
you know at the time I didn't realize, but after seeing that, I was like, whoa, that was pretty spot on or like really
Mm-hmm.
close, and it really encaptured the vibe. So it kind of that's what I really wanted because I wouldn't have played this game if it wasn't for COVID. If I didn't have that opportunity and the time
Same. I wouldn't have gotten
at
back into video games if it
and
wasn't for COVID.
so and I was actually happened to be at my girlfriend's house where she had a PS4 because I don't even play PlayStation. So like there's
Mhm.
all like a fluke really. So the fact that I played this game is really amazing. And so I've been trying to tell Eric to play, but he's an Xbox man too. So it's like slim to none. So it's
Just
really
tell him to get his
cool
life
that
together. You know.
honestly for more reasons than that though. But but it's just really cool to be able to recommend this show and be like it gives you the same vibes as the game, that same fear and just the love for the characters, and the you really feel like you're on the journey with them, and the love, the joy, the happiness, the loss, the pain, the horror of it all, just seeing all the different types of zombies. And it's really cool seeing the fungus version of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
they had like the weird tentacles, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
They
it
got
was
that
really
fungus mouth.
Mm-hmm.
yeah fungus breath. So I was really blown away by all of it, and seeing the television adaptation really knocked my socks off, and I highly recommend it to anybody. I mean, this is just the first episode, so I really
Yeah.
can't wait to see where it goes from here. I mean, we have the roadmap because we played the game, but
Yeah.
it's really fun to see them bring it to life
I,
on
I,
screen.
I can't wait to see some of the changes they'll make too, or the things that they'll expand on. So I'm
Mhm.
excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, going off of that right there, they've already done so with quite a
Mm-hmm.
few things,
Yeah.
where they've kind of expanded upon. I will get into it further, but like that opening, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
like does like the breakdown. That right there changes the whole thing, like
Yeah.
the way it comes into effect and the reason as to why it's happening.
Yeah.
They kind of give you a reasoning. Where in the game, it was kind of just like, "Hey, this is happening." And you as the player is just like, "Yeah, okay."
I thought
Like
you'd
you kind of
find
just
out
accept
later
it.
on it is fungus and stuff like that, and
No, I mean you know what it is, but you
yeah.
don't because with the show. I mean, like well, the lightest of spoilers, it's all due to global warming. That wasn't
Yes.
a thing
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the game. So they do stuff like that. Now, between the three of us, I'm probably the one who's played the game the most and probably
Mm-hmm.
seen most run throughs of the game. So it's like from what I've seen, it's very very comparable. It's very very similar. They do make some changes, and I feel like they do make some changes for the better. So I basically got to watch it kind of like one and a half times. So the first
Hey,
time it's just me.
sorry, Disco. We can hear that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead.
The first time it was just me just going in like, hey, I've already played Last of Us. I already know how it works. I know how the the sequel is and everything. So I'm going there with that. And then the second time I was like, all right, let me put myself in the mindset of somebody who doesn't know what's coming up. And I thought it was great, especially the first part where it's like the main character is what's called Joel's daughter,
Sarah.
Sarah, and yeah, and it's just like they build it that way, and it's I could just imagine like where you don't realize like if you don't know anything about Last of Us, it's that you heard about this show that's coming out that's supposed to be called The Last of Us. Oh, here's the main character. It's this girl
Hmm.
called Sarah. This, that, and the other, and then stuff happens. So
Yeah,
it's like it's kind of and that was the way people are reacting to this who've never seen that before is exactly how people reacted back in what was it 2013 when the game came out.
because
Um,
you play
uh,
as her in the game, and then
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like not only like people who just didn't know, they know like, hey, there's a guy and then there's a girl. That's the game. And then
Mhm.
you're playing as this girl, and then you're assuming that's the girl, and then stuff happens, and it's just like, oh, like okay, so this is taking us down a route I've never seen in games before, let alone something I wasn't expecting. So I feel like they did a good job with that, and the stuff they changed, I do feel like it was for the better. I'm not going to go in there and say this is the greatest show ever because this first episode was all right. There were parts of it where I was like, yeah, I kind of want this to move along a little bit. There was parts where I was just like, I'm a little bored. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely a little bit bored here. But I mean, I'm one of the few people that likes Last of Us 2 more than I like Last of Us 1. So maybe that's just part of it. Maybe I just want them to just hurry up and get to the second game. But it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to see where it goes and where they expand upon the original, content.
Okay. Honestly, I didn't get bored at all with the show. Whatever they expanded on, I enjoyed, and I feel they're gonna do that a lot more, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, it's gonna be different, obviously, from the game because you have the parts where you're solving puzzles of like getting out of this area
Yeah.
with the limited resources, very very limited resources, and
Yeah.
trying to
Well, it's
survive.
funny because like when Sarah's like walking around the house, I'm thinking of the game. I was like, Sarah, you're supposed to go in the room, turn on the TV, and then you can see the explosion outside. Then you have to read the birthday card. I was like, you didn't do any of that. You're playing the game wrong. Like
Yeah.
you're not doing it right.
All right, so let's jump into spoilers and stuff. So this is your spoiler warning. Um, with Sarah, I really enjoyed the expansion that they did with her, and even more,
The environment,
um,
dude. No?
the not just the environment. There was they subtly showed you how the people around them got infected and how
Oh
they
yeah, yeah, yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Right. But before we get to that, I want to get to that opening scene, which was very powerful, and I have it here. I want to share it. I want to watch it with you guys and discuss it real quick. So
And that's your biggest worry,
Yes,
Yeah.
any kind of virus, but most probably something similar to influenza.
because of air travel.
Through the air. Coughing.
I'm sorry, I meant people on planes. That was something you described in your book.
Yes, a new virus in Madagascar, say, could be in Chicago within a matter of weeks, and we end up with a
Just
global
funny 'cause that's
pandemic.
how,
Pan meaning
COVID.
the whole world becomes sick all at once.
And Dr. Newman, you're also an epidemiologist. I presume the prospect of a viral pandemic keeps you up at night as well.
No.
No?
No.
All right, well, that's our show.
No, mankind has been at war with the virus from the start. Sometimes millions of people die, as in an actual war, but in the end, we always win.
But you, just to be clear, you do think microorganisms pose a threat?
Oh, in the most dire terms.
Bacteria.
No.
You like saying no.
Yes.
Not bacteria, not viruses, so...
Fungus. Yes, that's the usual response. Fungi seem harmless enough. Many species know otherwise, because there are some fungi who seek not to kill, but to control. Let me ask you, where do we get LSD from?
Where do you get it from?
It comes from ergot, a fungus. Psilocybin, also a fungus. Viruses can make us ill, but fungi can alter our very minds. There's a fungus that infects insects, gets inside an ant, for example, travels through its circulatory system to the ant's brain, and then floods it with hallucinogens, thus bending the ant's mind to its will. The fungus starts to direct the ant's behavior, telling it where to go, what to do, like a puppeteer with a marionette. And it gets worse. The fungus needs food to live, so it begins to devour its host from within, replacing the ant's flesh with its own. But it doesn't let its victim die, no. It keeps its puppet alive by preventing decomposition. How? Where do we get penicillin from?
Fungus. Dr. Schoenheiss, you're in distress.
Fungal infection of this kind is real, but not in humans.
True, fungi cannot survive if its host's internal temperature is over 94 degrees. And currently, there are no reasons for fungi to evolve to be able to withstand higher temperatures. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer? Well, now, there is reason to evolve. One gene mutates, and an Ascomycetia, Candida, ergot, Cordyceps, Aspergillus, any one of them could become capable of burrowing into our brains and taking control, not of millions of us, but billions of us. Billions of puppets with poisoned minds, permanently fixed on one unifying goal: to spread the infection to every last human alive by any means necessary. And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. They don't exist. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
We lose.
we'll be back.
I love that scene. The dude's just like,
Yeah.
that's it. Well, take a second.
Great. scene.
So, yeah, it's phenomenal. I had a very like quick theory about who that doctor is, and then it kind of faded because it didn't make sense just because of his age.
Yeah, it's
It's just
1968.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, maybe that's Abby's father.
Yeah, no.
But I was just, it doesn't make sense. It's 1968. We get to see Joe later, and then it's 20 years after.
After that, yeah.
And then, so there's no
maybe
way he'd still be
maybe
able.
they're related. Maybe he passed his work on to like
Maybe he's the
those
grandfather or
next
something. Yeah,
generation.
you never know.
One
But
thing I
it's-
want to say I enjoy real quick, just more like a comedy thing. It's like when they first cut to him, and he's like, "Oh, it's not bacteria, it's not virus, it's fungus." And then you hear the crowd's like, "Oh, look at this man!" I'm like, "Bro, that's a scientist. You shut up. You're the audience. You sit there and you listen to what he has to say." Like, "Oh, fungus. Okay." Like, come on.
You silly smart man, it's impossible.
So I had seen a while back this article about this zombie fungus
Mhm.
that takes control of ants and does all the shit that he says it does.
Mhm.
And it was definitely like a scary thing to see. And like this was way before I ever found out about The Last of Us and stuff. And I think when I started playing it and I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, it's like fungus." And I like, oh, like, cause I was playing it, I was talking to Dan, and I like kind of figured out what was happening before they kind of spelled it out for you in the game.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's very interesting that they took like this thing that happens in nature and then like evolved it and created this one of the best stories I've ever seen, um, like in video games and like
Arguably
anything,
the
you
best
know?
story in gaming.
Yeah. So, like, these are just some pictures of these ants that have been infected with these fungus and what they look like, and it's very interesting because the way they then took how these things happen and showed it in the game and how it affects the humans, it's very they did a really great job with like
Mhm.
trying like figuring out what they think it's gonna look like, what is possible, what is real or not. And then you kind of see how like the fungus kind of grows on the body and stuff like that. And then you kind of what happened to my other pictures?
Hmm.
All right.
I really did
Um,
like that though. The fungus aspect. It really does make for a terrifying zombie, and the fact that they're still fast and like
Yeah.
youthful and like infinite energy just makes it even more terrifying. And then
Yeah.
the weird spore face is just it's just so
Yeah, and they turn
new
they
and
turn into
fresh,
clickers.
very
Yeah.
fresh.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's I've said it a bunch of times where it's like I like its take where it's like zombie survival without the zombies, where it's straight honestly it's really just survival, and that's where it's entertaining. Whether it's zombies or you have a movie like The Crazies, which The Crazies, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's very similar to like The Last of Us in terms of people go crazy, they run around, so they're not dead. They're like undead, like here, like they're technically not dead, but they're still, for lack of a better term, like you're right, they're zombies at the end of the day.
yeah.
But no, yeah, and then the fact that they have that, and now you have this thing controlling their minds, that just makes it terrifying because now they have an objective.
Yeah. And then you see this still from the show where like the fungi has like overgrown, it has consumed everything in the body, and now it's kind of like attached itself in somewhere dark, a little cooler, and starting to grow more, and eventually it'll create spores so it can
Hmm.
keep spreading, which is actually what happens in the life cycle of these things that go through ants, right? It affects the ants. It does what it does. It makes the ant go somewhere that's more dark and humid so
Hmm.
it can grow properly. And once it grows and eats whatever it does from the ant moves somewhere where it can position itself to, if you see up here, create a killing zone where it can spread its spores in a lot
Hmm.
wider fashion, which is fucking terrifying
Yeah.
after what happened with COVID, and definitely with everything getting warmer. This could definitely be a possibility. So it is 100% terrifying. So, but it is very interesting,
Yeah.
and I think the show did a great job of portraying that, and so did the game. So I wanted to show some of the stills here that we were talking about earlier. Now,
Hmm.
this is in the beginning of the show, and the show is on top, the game is on the bottom, and you see where Sarah has given her father a birthday present of the watch she fixed for him. Now, we actually, in the show, they expanded on it where they show her going to school, leaving school. You hear things in the background of
Hmm.
these things
The
happening
environmental
around the world.
storytelling, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you you see her go fix the watch, and while she's fixing the watch, the lady's freaking out. She's like, "You got to go home, we're closed," like shuts down the shop.
Hmm.
And then she's going home. Earlier in the show, she was looking for pancake mix, right? Later they hear news that something is happening in Jakarta.
Hmm.
Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, she says it in the show.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't know this, but in Jakarta has the biggest like flour mill in the world, and
Hmm.
it produces a lot of flour. Um, and it spreads it around the world. Now, if this virus happened to start there, and the spores got into the flour, and then
Hmm.
that flour goes all over the world,
Yep.
she couldn't find pancake mix, so she couldn't make pancakes.
Hmm.
Joel was supposed to go get a cake, but he forgot, so no flour in the cake.
Exactly.
Also, she was over her neighbor's house, the neighbors who eventually turned into zombies,
Hmm.
um, and she was making cookies. And also, in the beginning, they were feeding her biscuits.
Hmm.
So all that stuff has flour in it, so
Yep.
they got infected. And then that's where the scene Dan was talking about earlier, where you see like the what are they, like the roots of the fungi looking
Hmm.
for to spread, right? They're biting people so the spores can go in and they can infect new hosts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the show did a great job with that, and they don't really explain this. I saw it on someone else explained this
Yeah.
this point, but they did an amazing job.
Well, they did
Like,
that, and then they did the whole. Is it from the flower or is it from people who are in the city? And that's the
yeah,
thing where she talks about it. She's just like, so, like even when, in the car scene where she's with Joel and Tommy and they're driving,
hmm,
she's like, wait, this. What if we're already infected? She's like, no, you
yeah.
have to be serious. Like, well, people go to the city a lot, right? Because then you think back, oh, this is where I got the
She's
watch,
yeah,
and she's going to school there. And then even when she's in school, where she's looking at that one classmate with the bracelet who can't control their hand.
yeah. Their hand is shaking. Yep.
Exactly. So it's like all these things where it's like you see these people like the early stages of infection and
Hmm.
you don't even realize it's happening. It's happening right
Yeah.
there. That plus the flower plus the news reports, the planes flying overhead, like all the stuff going on, the watchmaker's wife freaking out. It's like all these things. It's kind of like it's funny because environmental storytelling is something that's done usually in games. To see it portrayed this way in a show, I was like, this is very cool.
No,
Seeing
they
it.
definitely did a great job because it
Yep.
built up the tension.
Yep.
It really did a great job building up the tension throughout like the first half of the episode before
Yeah.
you'd make the time jump.
Yeah, it's like very easy to tell something's wrong. Something is like red flags are just flagging everywhere. Like
Yep.
what?
And the character of Sarah did a phenomenal job portraying her fear and her confusion, and you know what I mean? I
She
thought she
did. I
did,
mean, yeah.
yeah.
Such a good job. And they talked about it afterward, where they do like the whole behind the scenes, like they do for Game of Thrones as well, where
Yeah.
it's just like they even said it's like we wanted to get an actress who basically we can make it look like she's going to carry the show. and
Yeah.
like they did that. And I don't know if you guys are aware. You know, her mom is.
No, I don't know.
It's Dandy Newton. That's her name, right? Now you got me second guessing. Because she looks exactly like her.
I'm not sure who that is,
I'm
even
not
when you
sure.
said the name.
Yeah, she's an extra. You remember The Color Purple?
Nope. Never watched it.
I don't think I've seen that either.
No,
To
it's
be
not The Color
honest,
Purple. It's the other one. It's
That's Oprah.
Well, I know, but Oprah's in this movie with her too.
Okay.
It's one of the ones that we had to watch in school. She's like Oprah's her mom.
Yeah, I don't remember who this is.
A famous actress, like one of the best actresses ever.
But
Looks
yeah,
just
so
like her.
so her daughter's a phenomenal actress, and then you get to see scenes like this. The house is on fire, and they're driving, and you're watching this in the game, and I like how the signs were very
Yep.
accurate too. Um,
Dude, the
It's
words. I was
it's
quoting I was quoting the show. I was saying the
yeah,
lines before they said it. She's like, "Where'd you get the money for the watch?" Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. I was like, and she says it. And then it's
yeah,
like the whole thing when they're driving by. It's just like, Joel, we should stop. They have kids. Like, we have a kid too. Keep going. I was like, I
yeah.
remember all these like word for word. I was like, they're really just. It's the game.
that's
Well,
awesome.
I mean, the
I
game is a story. Like you're
Yeah,
playing
and it's
the
very well
story,
written.
and
Yeah.
it's very well written. The dialogue is phenomenal. They had great voice actors, so
Yep.
why wouldn't they just take that what's already made
Yeah,
for
but
them
people have
and
been
just
asking that same question for years. That's
I
like,
know, and it
like why
drives me
did they
crazy
do
when
that? And they
someone
finally did it.
can do this and make such a great show, and then
Yeah.
they can't do that for like comic books. I'm just like, what the fuck is like going on?
going back to the daughter. When I first watched it, I kind of forgot who she was, and so
Yeah,
like halfway in the episode, I was like, wait a minute, who is she? And then it dawned on me that she died like 10 minutes into the game.
yeah, yeah,
And then it was really fun to watch because I was watching with my girlfriend and I see her just like getting attached to this like what she
yeah.
thinks is the main character. And then at the
Hmm.
end she was like totally just like in
It's just-
shambles. I was like, it's so fun to watch that in her face and
Yeah.
then just actually watch the show. So
I mean,
props to the daughter. She
Oh,
really
great.
did accomplish
I
her
mean, look
goal.
how scared she is in her
Yeah.
face right here in this still. It's wild. Like it's
Oh, she did great.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
She did great, and
Kudos.
not only that, Pedro Pascal,
Oh man.
his portrayal of like a broken Joel is insane. Because like you could see from the like even before everything happens, he's so disheveled. He's just trying to just get by. Like
Yeah.
he's got so much going on, and then it's just like you see like afterward, everything's after 20 years later, after everything's happened with his daughter and the world, and he's just a broken down shell of a man, and he does such a great job of doing that. Of
Like the
acting
scene
that.
when she died and he was like holding her and crying was like
Oh, that was great.
I was like, fuck man. I was like, I need
That
a
was
break
great.
after this shit. I was like my God. And then you have here the scene with him and Tess after she got beat up with the car
Mhm.
battery and stuff like that, and you know.
It really is an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty heavy. It was intense.
Yeah.
And then last scene comparison was the Ellies.
Mhm.
You know.
And that's another
Yeah.
one. Bella Ramsey killing it as Ellie. My
Her
God.
attitude is fantastic.
It's like
It's so
it's
good.
Ellie like turned up just a little bit more, and Ellie's
Yeah.
already pretty turned up. So it's like it's great. It's just I mean her take on Ellie's like perfect. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think it's really really done well.
I really
Oh,
liked
no.
when Joel was like pounding out that dude, the cop guy, and then you see Ellie in the
When they were
background kind of
escaping?
pop out and
Yeah.
just like
Just watching it.
like she was like fascinated. I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. I love seeing that energy in her because it's like it really does compliment Joel, and I just can't wait to see them travel and kind of
Yeah.
build that bond and kind of literally need each other because she.
Yeah.
Back in the show, like she got to places where he couldn't, and did all this
Mhm.
types of crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
So I really want to see that type of bond and connection build, and I'm just excited because
can't-
because of the spoilers that in the second game.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Jake-
Let's not spoil that right now for
Yeah.
people watching the
No,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just because
That's true.
knowing where it goes even further is just like it's
Yeah,
it's
that's
so-
what makes you like after watching the sequel of what's happening right now, you're already like fucked up.
You know where
like,
it's gonna go.
I'm
like, it
afraid
sucks.
just to get too attached and just be like.
Yeah.
But
Oh shit, man.
yeah,
No, but
it's-
one
always
thing
crazy.
one thing I would say with that scene in particular, that's something where he's like beating on that dude. That's not in the
No, it's not
game,
in the game.
and that's one of the things where I feel like they did change it for the better because like
Mhm.
the way they showed it was like this is Joel's second chance,
Yeah.
like and Joel saw that, and it's this guy who he's kind of built a relationship with, like he knows the guy, and so it's like it's one of these things where he's
And it's
like,
just like
okay,
PTSD.
exactly,
It's flashing in his mind.
yeah, because in the game it was like a quick, I think Tess shoots him in the head and it's like boom, just keep on moving or something like that. And
Yeah.
but no, in this one it's like they make a whole scene of it, and I feel like that was a great idea where they really expanded upon that scene. And then like Disco, like you were saying, where they show Ellie, like all that together, it's like it works so well. And knowing where the show's gonna go, knowing where they're gonna take it, it's just like, oh man, this that's just perfect storytelling within itself.
It
So no, I
really
thought that was
is.
a very good.
Just seeing how far Joel is willing to go for this new surrogate daughter, and they just
Mhm.
met is it's just
Yeah,
incredible. Just the underlying emotion
yeah,
and the way Pedro is able to convey it too. I definitely see him as that Joel now. Like he's
yeah,
definitely pulling it off.
yeah. But not it's that's the thing. It's him. It's you got Tess. She's doing phenomenal. She's straight just Tess out the game. Like it's
Yeah.
just Tess out the game. They made her into a real life person. Marlene, they're showing a little bit more of Marlene. We're getting to learn a little bit more about her because before she was just like, oh, she's just the leader of the Fireflies. She kind of looked like Rihanna. Like that's all she was. Now it's just like there's actual character. There's a little bit to Marlene. Especially when you have the scene where like they have that one Fireflies asking her, it's like, so why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And then she breaks it down. She's like, all right, this is why we're doing this. And you see like the method behind not only her but the Fireflies in general. Before the Fireflies was just like they're like this weird kind of terrorist group going up against Fedra. We
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. They're just there, and they want us to transport Ellie. Here you kind of have an idea of like, okay, they're really at war with Fedra. They're trying to do this thing. It's like they really just took everything that we knew and expanded upon it. And feel like that was very well done.
Now, Dan, I want to ask you something. So they already. It's funny because was it Tess that mentioned the slavers? No, it was. So when Joel went in to speak to that guy that has the radio and
The
talks to
radio
other
guy,
towers and stuff, and he
yeah.
was like, "Yeah, there's bad things out there like slavers and stuff like that." Which is, I think it's interesting that they mentioned the slavers now, so they're setting them up. I wonder if we're gonna have a running
Like
them.
the what are they called? The Rattlers, I think. In the
Yeah,
second game.
or
It
maybe
might.
or
Yeah.
maybe another version of slavers. I'm sure the rattlers aren't the only ones.
No, yeah. But one thing that
Um,
they did that they set up that for that's also in the second game I thought was great
the
is
cult.
no actually
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say there's a oh I forgot where exactly but there was like a map where I think it might have been the beginning. It might have been in the intro. Now that I think about it, where they do like the
Oh,
Game of
okay.
Thrones thing, where it's like they specifically kind of show like Seattle is screwed, and we know Seattle is
Mm,
the home of the second game. So it's like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
showing how messed up Seattle is, and that's like they kind of like if you pay close enough attention, you see that it's like oh stuff's about to
That's
go crazy
interesting.
over there.
So I wanted to ask about the cult because I remember seeing on the wall like follow the light.
Well, that's the
And
Fireflies.
oh, that's the fireflies. Okay.
Yeah, it's why they're
What were
called
the cults
Fireflies. Yeah.
saying?
Um, I keep thinking Kila Salai. That's Mass Effect.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
The cult. What was their thing? It was just
I thought it was something about
it was something
light
about light
also.
as well. But the Fireflies
Yeah.
are like the yeah. If you're lost
Okay.
in the darkness, follow the light. Like that's the
Okay.
Fireflies motto.
I thought that was the cult. They were calling them out now. I was like, God damn.
Oh
The
no,
first
yeah.
episode.
That's why the Fireflies they have the quote everywhere, and then you have the
Yeah.
pictures of like the graffiti of the Fireflies. And that's why I loved where you have that one guy where Joel's just standing there while Tess is talking to
Yeah.
whoever, and then Joel's just standing there. The guy's like, "Hey man, if you ever was like, if you tell me to follow the light, I'm gonna kill you," or whatever he said.
He's
I
like,
was
yeah,
like,
I'm
"All
gonna
right."
break your jaw. And the dude just walks away.
It's like
Oh,
you're
that
good.
was
You found the
hilarious.
light.
Um, okay, so for certain scenes, like so the last scene of the show when they finally escape the city and they're going and the lightning and you see how fucked up the city is.
Hmm.
Now I know that was in the game.
Hmm.
Do you think the game studio gave the filming studio their 3D models and then they were able to just take that and adapt it into their VFX and re-render
Potentially.
it for VFX, or do you think they rebuilt everything from scratch?
I mean, this. I mean, I can't help but think what's the cheapest option, and do that.
Yeah, and then
You
make
know.
it look just as good. If you're gonna
Yep.
try to make it just as good as not just as good as just as accurate as the
Hmm.
game, and have these little things for people who played the game to see. Be like, oh, I played
Hmm.
that, I was there.
I know this.
Um, it just makes sense because a 3D model is a 3D model, right? You
Hmm.
you take the bare 3D model, you put it in whatever program, convert it, and then you can add your own textures and rendering
Hmm.
profiles and whatever to it, scale it up, scale it down, and do what you
Hmm.
need to do and re-render it in whatever program. But at least you have the base of
Yeah.
the works, and I feel like that would save a lot of time and money, especially if there were, especially since Neil Druckmann was
Hmm.
a producer on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just made a lot of sense to me if they did that, especially after seeing that scene.
Yeah. Because I mean, it straight looks exactly like you're talking about the thing where they do lighting, and you see,
The
I can't
building.
remember if it's the afterward, but you see the buildings where one's leaning on the other.
Yep.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's like literally it looks like a shot from the game,
Yeah.
like that right there, and that's another part that I can't wait because that's kind of like where you see that's where they kind of split off and Joel's like on his own and then Tess is with Ellie and we never really got to know what happened between Tess and Ellie there because you're playing
Yeah.
as Joel. I feel like that'd be a good opportunity for them to build upon the Tess and Ellie relationship that we
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
really got to see or so which then spoilers stuff happens to one of those characters so
Yeah.
then you'll know like that's going to be more heartbreak that they're just building up.
um
We're going
yeah,
to do the shout out.
no, I was gonna
Uh,
do something else, but since we're gonna happy birthday Henry, Killer
and
Fox.
Henry wants to be called Disco.
Shout out to Disco in
Okay. All right. Happy birthday, Henry. Happy birthday, Disco. Happy birthday to all your alter egos.
And to all a good night.
Now, the reason why I bring the VFX thing is because I saw something that said that the voice actors that did the clickers
Yeah, I know
are
exactly what you're
part
talking
of the show.
about.
They're doing the voices of the clickers in the show. If you don't know, clickers are one of the infected, like a higher level infected
Yeah, like they've been
creature.
infected for longer, and then the fungus
Yeah.
is like really. It's kind of like rotting through their face to the point that they
Yeah,
can't see.
I showed it
Yeah,
before
yeah,
in the
exactly.
episode.
And the
But
reason they click is for the sonar, so they can see
yeah,
exactly what's going on.
100%. So they're coming back, and we already know that Troy Baker and the voice actress of Ellie, I forget her name,
Ashley Johnson.
Ashley Johnson, are going to be part of the show. So I'm interested to see what their part and roles are
Mm.
going to be. It's going to be very interesting. Man, I'm so excited for the rest of the show. It's going to
Did
be
you
good.
see the video thing where they kind of explain how they created the voice of the sound of the clickers?
I did not.
So
No.
it's really interesting. So it's like they showed like one of the like the sound producers or whatever in the game or sound directors rather, where he said that they went out to like different voice actors. One of them I can't remember the person's name. They like did this weird like guttural like growl, and they're like so they did that, and then they were like and then the producer himself he did a sound, and then another guy kind of did like another sound. They overlapped, and then
Yeah.
he played them individually, then played them together, and it's a clicker. And it's
Oh, nice.
incredible the way they did it. And it's funny because like after they did that, one guy's like, "That sounds a lot like a Snapple bottle," and they all stopped and looked at each other. It's like, "We spent so much time on that. We could have just used the Snapple bottle at the top." Where you click.
Yeah.
I was dying. It's like we spent so much time doing.
the creative
funny.
process, man. It's a beautiful
Yo.
thing. Sometimes it just takes you in circles, but it's the journey.
Because it was like
It is
once
the
you said, it, I was
journey.
like, it really does sound like the thing where you just hit it over here. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what it sounds.
That's hilarious. But the one thing I can't wait to see is the cult, the whistling,
Oh
because
yeah,
that was great.
Oh man, hey man, you got season 2 for that.
Yeah. I wonder
You
if
gotta
they're
wait.
gonna do the full game in the first season.
yeah.
They
It
said they
might
are.
not even be.
They
Oh,
They
said
already
they are?
announced it. They already announced
Okay.
it. Season 1 is the first game.
Now I wonder if Neil Druckmann is gonna use this to add some things into the show season 1, and then help.
In
They're
between the
probably
second game.
and then help write season 2 or whatever, or to help him creatively come up with The Last of Us Part 3.
He already said that they're working on it. I don't know if you read. They announced it right before the show came out.
No, I
They're
understand,
already
but they
working
were
on it
already
all.
working on the show, so I'm interested to see if like he's gonna put little things in the first in this season as kind of like an additive that they might then follow up with on the second season
Oh, I got you. I got
to
you. Maybe.
kind of then reference back into game 3.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
they
That
might.
would be very interesting.
One thing that he did also mention in a different interview, which I still don't know how I feel about it, where he was saying like, they're like, hey, so how do you feel about, your the creative process and whatever? And he was talking something. He's like, one thing that I find fascinating is the need to, not the need, but the option to tell good storytelling without cutscenes. And then he pointed to Elden Ring, where
Mm.
it's like the Elden Ring story is like the mythos and everything in there is like huge.
Hmm.
So it's just like, but the game doesn't like tell you. There aren't cutscenes. It's like you have to go out there and just discover the story, environmental storytelling, like I said, which is big in games. So he was mentioning he likes seeing something like that. So I'm just curious if Last of Us 3 would end up having something like that, where it's
Oh,
just
that would
like,
be
hey,
interesting.
like you'll still have the cutscene. I can't imagine them doing a Last of
Yeah.
Us 3 without cutscenes, but it just wouldn't be maybe what we're used to in cutscenes. Because one of the biggest complaints people have for PlayStation first party games, which I'm gonna be real with you, if this is a complaint you have, it's just stupid. Is they feel like, oh, it feels like too much like a movie. I don't want to sit there and watch a movie. I want to play a game. I was just like, okay. I mean, in my opinion, it's
I don't know.
I'm always
I
the
didn't
type of
get that.
person. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy that type of thing. Like I like playing for the cutscene. So it's like I
Yeah.
want to get to the next part
It's a
so I can see
reward.
what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
Other
I know.
people, there's a
I
lot of
didn't
people
feel
that
like it was the cutscenes were too much or took away from my game playing or
yeah,
like they added more to the emotion. Like there were certain cutscenes that made me like play harder
mhm,
because I wanted to kill somebody.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It
They
was
build they build upon the
Yeah, they
yeah.
yeah.
they totally had synergy together. I don't know.
It's a
I
it's a
felt like
it's
the
a
gameplay
common
was
thing. Yeah.
fun too. You know, you got to bond with Ellie and and you got each other's back, and then the cutscenes build on the like in depth, like emotional and plot progression.
Mhm.
I thought there was great synergy between the two.
Hmm.
That's crazy,
No,
man.
I
And I
know.
guess
I'm
everybody's entitled
right
to
there
their own
with you.
opinion, but
Yeah.
I'm just I'm honestly shocked. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Same
it's
here.
yeah, it's a thing where it's like a lot of people make fun of that. Like, there's even been memes where it's like people are like, they're like, oh, they put in a game and it says like PlayStation Studios, and then they just sit there with some popcorn and just start watching. Like, that's the thing.
Oh.
Metal Gear Solid 4. I know I've heard that too. What Henry's talking about there in the chat, that it's known for cutscenes, and hey, Kojima, right? But like, I don't know. I've always been a cutscene guy. It's funny. Last of Us, if they took away gameplay and put in more cutscenes, I'd be so much happier. I'm like, this is even better. Like, the less I have to play, I love that. But yeah, no, anyway, that's just something
So
that was
here's
interesting.
the thing, right? Season one's already done and is gonna come out through this next
It's
few
like three
weeks.
months or something. Yeah.
Okay. I would say another year, maybe a year and a half until season two comes out. Right after season one's done, depending on the shooting schedule and if the other actors and actresses have other projects or whatever. And then it's like, what do we are they just gonna stop until the third game comes out, and then we get season three? Like, how's that gonna play out? Or are they gonna continue the story?
Don't do the anime thing.
We're gonna get
That's
filler
all I gotta say.
episodes. They're just
Don't
gonna
do the
throw a
anime
pizza
thing.
party and randomly like give
Oh, like fillers and shit, and
Yeah,
until
the
season
one of
three
the
comes.
worst things I hate about anime is it's like, oh, let's start doing the anime. Like, oh, the anime caught up to the manga, so what are we gonna do now? Where they write a completely different story, where they do whatever. It's like, don't do that. Just, if you have to, just stop.
Ellie and Joel are gonna go to the beach for holiday, like some random filler
Oh shit!
Christmas
What
episode.
what one
The
thing Henry just put
Christmas,
in the chat.
Christmas.
One thing you put in the
That's
chat. I better see some con collection or hear a joke. I guarantee you're gonna get that.
yeah, yeah.
Guarantee it. Like, especially Ellie's joke book. Oh my god, it's because I'm pretty sure, because they've already showed in trailers and stuff. They already showed some trailers and stuff where they're what's called, where they're doing like what's a throwback, go back, backtrack, cutscene. What's the
Flashback.
word I'm looking for? Flashback. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Where they're doing a
He
flashback
said a
where you
Damn, you're
see
pulling
throwback.
a me right now.
yeah, I thought of every other term. Where it's
I
Ellie
got you.
and Riley, where they're in the mall and they're doing stuff, and that's where you do see the joke book. So I guarantee we're gonna get that.
Yeah, because we will be
So
getting that flashback. They already showed it in the trailer.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, I don't know if we'll get a whole episode like dedicated to it or whatever, but obviously we are getting that. That, and we're getting a lot more of Nick Offerman's Bill, not Bill,
Yeah.
the other character. But can't wait to see that.
What else did I want to ask? Oh man, I forgot. Oh right. So you already said that they're working on Last of Us Part 3. But like how realistically do you think it's going to come, let's say within the next 2 years?
And it won't.
Yeah, so that means we're not getting a season 3 anytime soon if they choose to stop, right? Because
I mean, I'm
I've
perfectly fine with us not getting a season 2 anytime soon.
yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like I'm just like I'm thinking out loud of how these shows work usually.
Mhm.
And it's like they're done with season 1, they have the material for season 2, and they'll jump into production or whatever. Let's say it takes a year and a half, and then it is what it is. Let's say we get, what are we, 2023 is going to finish, year and a half. Let's say we get season 2 by 2025, right?
Mhm.
I don't think we're getting Last of Us Part 3 by 2025.
When did okay? So the PlayStation, because what Henry just said in the chat makes
The
the
end
most
of
sense in
play
the world. The
cycle.
end of the
Yeah.
PlayStation cycle, because that's when they released Last of Us, towards
Yeah.
the end of the cycle. So we got the PS5 in 2020.
Yeah.
We're in
So by
2023 now.
2025, it'll be 5 years in. Is that a cycle, or
It
how
can be.
long is the cycle?
It depends. The average cycle could. Average cycle is Henry. Let me know. I would say more like around 7 to 8 years
Mm,
for the
okay.
average cycle. I know, like if you look at PS3 and 360, that was a crazy long one because of a
Yeah,
recession. But we're going into a recession, so that might expand it as well. So
that's
that's
true.
the thing. But the average life cycle is somewhere around 7 to 8 years. So that would put us at
Okay.
2027, 2028. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. 7. Thank you.
7 years. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just trying to like thinking out loud. I
Yeah.
don't think we're probably gonna, unless they decide to expand on like do like side stories and like show you more of like
Well,
one of
that's
the other characters like backgrounds, like Abby, and like how she grew up, like a whole
Well, we
like
already know
half a
what they're doing. This is why I don't think we're gonna get it next, because the next Last of Us game is the Last of Us Factions game. It's
yeah.
not gonna be Last of Us 3. So that's
Okay.
why, like, I feel like if anything, if we do get one at the end of the life cycle, I hope it wouldn't take that long. But I think the next one would be Last of Us Factions, which would then push Last of Us 3 even further back, because
Oh,
they're
okay.
working on that, which is a
Last of
multiplayer
Us
game that's
faction. Yeah.
dedicated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a multiplayer game. Like in Last of Us 1, they did have a multiplayer
Hmm.
game called Last of Us Factions within Last of Us. Some people, either you really liked it or you really didn't like it. I'm in the really didn't like it camp, because multiplayer, ew, people. But
Hmm.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to Last of Us Factions, especially now that PlayStation has obtained a team, the people that do Destiny.
Yeah.
So it's
Is
like
it
you have
is
all
it
these people that know how to do games, being Bungie.
is it
What's up?
multiplayer co-op or just multiplayer like against each other?
Probably both. Think of Call of Duty, but Last of Us. So like, yeah, there'll be some co-op, some against each other. But yeah, it would be that. So it's something that I know. It's like I probably wouldn't even buy. Like I probably, if like it's a multiplayer story, I don't care. But if they go in there and give it a story and do stuff like that, it might be interesting. But I think they're going to spend a lot of time working on that before they even come close to starting Last of Us 3.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, I know we kind of went off the episode and we didn't really dive too deep into the episode. And the reason we did that is because we've played the game, we know the story, we know what is coming, and
Mhm.
and if you're watching the show and you've never watched the game, we don't want to ruin it for you, because trust me when I tell you, it is such a phenomenal story. You would hate us if
Mhm.
we spoiled
Mhm.
what's coming. So please watch the show, enjoy the hell out of it. I think it's going to be phenomenal. And if you do enjoy the hell out of it, go fucking play the Last of Us game, and you will
Yeah.
enjoy that even more.
That's
You
why
know?
they made The Last of Us Part 1, like the remake.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it exists, because there's
Hmm.
people, they looked at what happened with The Witcher.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, everybody saw The Witcher. It was like, let me play this game that came out years ago, and The Witcher saw like, I mean, Disco, you played The Witcher 3 after
Yeah.
watching the show.
I
That
did actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cyberpunk was just like, oh, this show's not that great. They came out with the Cyberpunk anime. Guess what? Everybody started playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So PlayStation and Naughty Dog was like, here's Last of Us Part 1. We're just gonna put this out there. It's just gonna sit there. And now we have a
Yeah.
show coming out in like a month or two. The
Yeah.
show comes out. Guess what's gonna happen? Last of Us 1 and 2 sales are about to jump.
Yeah.
So, like
100%.
I
I'm
hope
ready to play
so.
Last of Us 1 again. Because I haven't played this new updated version. I was like, I have to see this version, because it's basically the Last of Us 2 engine, but running Last of Us 1. So
Nice.
I would love to play that.
So is the gameplay like Last of Us 2 gameplay?
It's
Like
gonna
the
play like Last of
mechanics?
Us 2.
like
but it's The Last of Us 1 story.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
It's literally called The Last of Us Part 1. Like that's what they called it, and because the original
Yeah.
one's just Last of Us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
But yeah, so we don't want to like, because if we dive too deep into what's happening in the show, in this first episode, we're gonna reveal what's gonna happen later on, and we really don't want to do that. So that's why we kind of started talking about the future of season 2,
Yeah.
season 3, what the game's gonna come up with. We talked about how they set up some of the storylines. So we didn't want to get too much into the story and kind of ruin it for
Oh,
everybody.
wait till
So
I get to David.
oof.
Ugh.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely book up and enjoy the ride, and
Yeah.
because it's gonna be a bumpy one, but it's gonna be
Get
worthwhile
some
in the end.
tissues. Get some fucking tissues.
Straight
Uh,
up. Mm.
alrighty, man. I hope you
Is
guys
it,
enjoyed. What's up?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it still gonna be Bella Ramsey
Oh, that's a good
for
question,
season
actually.
2?
So
Because
because there's a
there's a
time
time
skip
skip.
between the first video game and the second video game.
So
That is a good question.
I
I
wonder if
guess it.
they've thought about that yet. Like if they already have an idea of
I'm
who
sure
they're
they
gonna.
thought of it. Yeah, it all depends. Like, how long is it going to be till season 2?
Yeah,
Then
she's
again, I
also
was just
young.
gonna
Yeah.
say. Then again, maybe it's gonna be a couple years, and she'll be already like
Yeah.
Or
bigger
Older.
or
like
whatever.
I've said countless times, the world needs to stop being afraid of recasting.
Oh no, I don't think they're gonna be
Yeah,
afraid of recasting. They'll do what they need to do to get a good show.
yeah, but I
Um.
mean they won't be afraid, but it's the people's backlash. You know how people are.
Oh fuck! I think they'll be used. I think after what happened with The Witcher and like they're recasting and just
People are
keep
still
going.
complaining about that.
Sure, they'll complain, but I think they'll get used to it again because it used to happen a lot back in the day, and then they stopped it, and now it's just start it over again. It's okay. We go
Just
in
let it happen.
cycles. Yeah, just it'll happen. People always complain whether it's either side. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
Henry,
yeah,
it
we
was.
showed a video of that. It was
Yeah,
phenomenal. It
and we
was great
talked about it.
for sure. Yeah,
Go check out the episode from the
and it
Yeah,
beginning. But
Henry.
kind of emphasizes that it's on like the fungi and all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty
but
cool.
It's also
yeah,
the guy
let's
from The Mummy.
yeah. Let's jump into Dan's
Wrestling.
Powerbomb Weekly.
There it is.
But thank you guys for. I hope you guys enjoyed our talk about The Last of Us episode 1 on HBO Max. Go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share and comment below. Let us know what you guys think about the first episode. If you have played the game already, please don't ruin it for everybody else in the comments. And it is free for you to do, but like and subscribe, but it helps us immensely. Go check out our social medias, and then go check out the Los Wise Guys website, loswiseguys.com. And without further ado, let's jump into some Powerbomb Weekly, because
Let's
shit
do it.
is crazy in the wrestling world.
It
Now,
really is.
last
really
week,
is.
Dan was like, Vince is back. He's going to sell the company. And then there were like next day, literally rumors were Saudi Arabia
Next day,
bought it.
bro. Later,
Yeah.
after we recorded.
Right. You
Because I
said
remember, because I remember
yeah.
saying, like, worst case scenario, he sells it to Saudi Arabia, they take over and let Vince run the company. We stop the podcast and look at the phone. Vince McMahon has sold the WWE to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And then that turned out to just be rumors. None of it was official. But yeah, so a lot has gone down since then. So before I pull up my what I have here, so basically that happened, and a lot of what I was talking about, where it's like, is he selling to Saudi Arabia? Is Disney going to buy it? Is it going to go to AEW? And literally all those things that I said are all potentially rumored to be happening. So it's
Yeah.
just like we're getting to that point where it's just like what's going to happen? And Vince McMahon's getting sued again because of how he got back on the board, where it's just like, hey, I showed up and other people need to get fired for me to take my place back on the board. So I'm firing 3 people to bring myself and 2 other people back on the board. And
Yeah.
so they're suing him for that. And then, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, they're having the thing. Stephanie McMahon's gone now. And so he's getting sued again for that. And for the whole, like, he instituted a bylaw that's just like, the only way WWE can be sold to any company is if Vince McMahon gives the okay. And of course, Vince McMahon himself is the one who put that bylaw in.
Yeah.
So there's like a
Nice.
lot of things going on where it's just like, what is happening in that time, from then to this week? WWE's had 2 meetings with the staff, like
The
everybody
board?
that works there, all the
Okay.
wrestlers, where Triple H had to get with the people and just like, because there's a lot of people getting upset. He's like, listen, I'm still running creative, nothing's changing. He did that on SmackDown, and then he did the meeting again on Monday on Raw. Like, we're still running it. I'm still here. I'm still doing creative. I got you. Don't worry. So this is going on, and then while this is
Yo,
happening, McMahon is just
I feel
running
like
wild.
Vince heard our podcast where I was like really happy he's gone and he's not ruining the company anymore, and he was like, "Hold my beer." He's like, "I'm fucking coming back. Like, fuck Eslam. I'm gonna just ruin this shit. Sell it to oil money."
Joke's on him. Like, if you care, like,
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, I
but
care because you care,
yeah.
but otherwise, like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, no, no, it's yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so first news story I have, let's see. Let me share my screen here. Of course, as always, I like to get my news from Wrestle Talk. I feel like they're some of the best people to get your wrestling news from. So Nick Khan, who is the sole CEO of WWE, the person who was hired by Vince McMahon years ago to help him sell the company, who's now the CEO, he was asked recently if he feels threatened by Tony Khan, owner of AEW, on whether or not Tony Khan's willing, to go out there and buy WWE. So the reason for that is recently Tony Khan was on a podcast or an interview or something, and they asked him like, "Hey, I know you've heard about all the rumors of WWE, quote unquote, your competition potentially being sold. Are you interested?" And Tony Khan's response was like, "Well, myself and my father owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. He owns like this one, whatever soccer team in Europe. He owns like basically U.S. Steel. So it's just like, we can't afford to do it. If we have to partner up with somebody to do so, we can do that as well. And we're very interested in what's going on with the sale." That's all he stated. And then, of course, he turned into full promoter. He's like, "But if you want to find anything out, tune in on Wednesdays for AEW Dynamite. Tune in on Fridays for Rampage, because you never know what I'm going to announce." And that's where he announced he bought Ring of Honor on an episode of Dynamite. So,
Now,
yeah,
if the cons buy WWE,
Are they
do you think-
related?
these two, no. No.
if the cons buy WWE,
Mhm.
do they fold it into AEW or do they keep it as WWE and then they do like cross promotions within their own company?
I'd like to say Tony Khan, if he were to be running both, crazy to even think that. I think WWE exists as WWE, AEW exists as AEW, just like how Ring of Honor exists separate of AEW. Yes,
Yeah.
some of the wrestlers overlap. One of the reasons for that is because Ring of Honor currently doesn't have a show. So for him to keep the promotion alive and keep the titles alive and keep their pay-per-views alive, he does have some of those wrestlers come over to AEW and vice versa, and they compete with one another. I mean, he had Chris Jericho, the first ever person signed by AEW, was recently the Ring of Honor champion. So it's like there's cross promotion that way. And think of it this way, where you have WWE, where they have a show such as Survivor Series, where you have teams going up against each other. Imagine a scenario where you have WWE versus AEW versus Ring of Honor on one pay-per-view. Or if you have the
Oh,
Royal
damn.
Rumble. Royal
Yeah,
Rumble
yeah.
could be 30 people. Who's to say 30 people from just one company? It
Yeah,
could be
10,
30
10,
people from
10.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like these are all scenarios that are cool, and it's funny because a lot of people were started putting the logo where it was like AEW and the W was the WWE logo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
The wrestling multiverse is going to be created.
well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Cross
Tony Khan was
merging.
referring to himself as the Forbidden Door. The Forbidden Door was like the expression that the WWE used. It's like, if you can go through the Forbidden Door, you go through from one promotion to another. And Hiroshi Tanahashi in New Japan Pro Wrestling was the first person to say the phrase, and then Tony Khan bought the rights to it and said, "I am the Forbidden Door," because everybody
Damn.
went through AEW and Ring of Honor. So, like that can happen, and that's cool. But anyway, in this article, it's on Wrestle Talk, written by let's see, Ryan Coogan. Basically, they interviewed Nick Khan and said if he feels threatened by Tony Khan saying that potential buy of AEW, and he said, "No, I'm not threatened. I'm not threatened by anyone or anything. That's just not how I do stuff. We're gonna if we do decide to sell, we're gonna sell to, whoever is the highest bidder, whoever we can make the best profit." So that's really what it is. It's kind of like a non-story, but that is kind of just like you see the different perspectives of how AEW's Tony Khan is looking at things and how Nick Khan is kind of running things. Now as the sole CEO, and then Vince McMahon just doing his thing, just running around being Vince.
Yo, this dude's fucking. I feel like he's just hopped up on like coke and shit, and
I don't
Adderall,
know.
and just.
There's been a lot of rumors lately that he's going to be in this year's Royal Rumble, and that's at the end of this month. And if he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, this man's going to win. I guarantee he's going to beat 29 other wrestlers and make himself champion. But
Right before he sells it.
well, that's another thing. Now people are starting to say, did he put himself in this position and say he's going to sell just so he can put himself in this position because he was making the whole bylaw?
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say that he's just like there now? He's like, well, you can't sell without me, and we're trying to sell, so I have to be here. So like that's another reason why he's getting sued. It's like, did he just make all these circumstances up just so he could put himself back in that position, and he has no intention of selling? You know, so it's like there's a lot of things that are going around.
So he can take control back of the company.
Exactly.
But how can he put a bylaw in if he wasn't part of the company?
He was the majority shareholder, and then his shares had specific powers where he was able to do certain things, and these were his powers. It's insane. Think of it as basically somebody activated his trap card, and he was like, "Well, I can do this," and that's literally what happened.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
For anybody who understood that, and we don't care, Rudy. For anybody who understood that was a great reference.
It really was. Like, yeah, this man's out here playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody else is playing Uno. But anyway. Anyway, so that's that story. Now I'm going to move over to another story. Very, very sad story. So recently, Ring of Honor legend passed away. And I mean as recently as yesterday. So Jay Briscoe, one half of the Briscoes, he and his brother Mark, the current, well, I guess former now, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. So Jay Briscoe passed away in a car accident yesterday being Tuesday. So you guys can see the screen, right? So this is Jay Briscoe. First off, I've showed Jay Briscoe a few times on the podcast. One of the most intimidating looking wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. Jay Briscoe is just, you don't mess with Jay Briscoe. He and his brother Mark is basically looks like him, just bald. And it's like you don't mess with the Briscoes. And Jay was the older of the two, and
every
Jay
time you
was
say that, I just think of brisket. I don't know why.
Yeah, but Jay Briscoe was like a standard in Ring of Honor for years. He was just like he was always there. He's multiple time Ring of Honor World Champion, Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, even more. And a bunch of people that made it to WWE or AEW, they have this man to credit for. Like he put a lot of people on the map. There's a lot of wrestlers that were just like we wouldn't be where we are today if not for Jay. Triple H, who never worked with Jay Briscoe, put out a tweet saying that Jay Briscoe is like one of the greatest names in wrestling history. Like this man is a true legend. So the story is essentially he was in a car accident. It says it a little bit here in this article. Once again on Wrestle Talk, written by Liam Winnard, where Jay was driving. There was somebody else who was driving. They were both, he's from Delaware, and something happened where one of the cars like went on to the other side of the road. I believe they said it was this lady's car who went over to his side, collided head on. He passed away. The driver passed away. Jay was in the car with his two young daughters. One of which I think is stable and injured. The other one, last I heard, she was going to go into surgery. They're not sure she's going to be able to walk anymore.
Oh my god,
that's like my worst fear since I'm like doing Uber and I'm on the road like 8 hours plus a day. That's my worst.
I can imagine,
man.
So it's a sad story. I know the wife, Jay's wife, she put out a tweet recently and like hey, we're very very religious family. If you could all just pray, we'd very much like that. She said that. So it's very sad to see. And there's a video that's been circulating during COVID. So Jay Briscoe, this big tough guy looking with tattoos and the dreads and everything. There's a video that's been circulating on Twitter and TikTok, I believe, where his daughter had to practice for a cheerleading tryout. And Jay puts his hair up and like with the cheerleader bow, and he's doing the cheerleading routine with her. And like this badass, intimidating dude. It's just right there. He's like clapping his hands, saying the chant thing. It's like, and a lot of people in the tributes have been saying it's like Jay Briscoe is like one of the toughest guys and one of the nicest people you could ever meet. It's like he's one of those guys that give you the shirt off the back. This reminds me a lot of the Brody Lee a few years ago when Brody Lee passed away. very similar situation. Man was respected by everyone. So it's very sad to see him go. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to say. We don't know.
It's tough,
Yeah.
especially the children got hurt as well,
Hmm.
and man, God bless his wife,
Hmm.
because she lost her husband as well as both her kids are hurt. So my
Yeah.
God, I cannot even begin to imagine what she's going through.
Yeah.
And I hope like God, guides you and makes you strong through these tough times because that is I can't even imagine, bro. Like,
Definitely give her
oh
the
man,
strength, man. That I can't exactly like you said. Can't even imagine. Just imagine the three closest people to you
Hmm.
are just
yeah,
one's gone and
Yeah.
two of them are like not the
Yeah.
same. Man,
And I think they have another child. I could be wrong. I think they have another kid who, thank God wasn't involved in the accident. But no, you're absolutely right. Where it's just like,
yeah,
this is your two daughters. This is your husband. Like, this is like, how do you deal with all that? While also you're trying to deal with that, and then you have this other kid who's just like, yeah, you have to console them and make sure they're okay.
yeah,
So it's a lot going on.
I hope she has a
But
great network and just thoughts
yeah,
and
yeah.
prayers, man.
yeah, that, and then like I said, Jay, remember, he's one half of a tag team. He's teamed with his real life brother Mark. And Mark's another guy who everybody's just like, hey, he's great. He's Jay's younger brother by like a year or two. And if you look at videos, these guys started wrestling when they were like 16, 17 years old. So they've been a tag team for almost, I mean, he's 38. Like, that's,
Wow.
more than half their lives they've been together in wrestling, let alone together in life.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, that's another one where Mark, as far as Jay, as long as Jay's been wrestling, Mark has been there. And Mark is another guy. I've seen these two guys fight each other, and it's true. Whenever you see any two wrestlers who are brothers fight one another, they hit hardest, and it was never more true than with the Briscoes. Like, they looked like they were out to murder each other, and they would put on bangers every single time. So, and that's another thing. What's gonna happen with Mark? You know, you look back at what happened with Bret Hart when Owen passed away. Bret kind of like left a little bit. He went over to WCW, and stuff didn't go right there. And you know, hopefully Mark is okay, but hopefully he still has a career if he wishes to keep a career, in pro wrestling. And yeah, so to his wife, to his kids, to his brother, to everybody who's known him, all the other family members, our thoughts and prayers go out to them, of course. But just a sad story overall. So, R.I.P. Jay Briscoe. All right. All right.
Is that it for your Powerbomb movie?
Yeah, it was just those two.
All right. Disco. Let's jump into your review.
Can you like Google a picture of Willow real quick? The show.
Yeah, I got you.
So I have something to look at. So for my little segment, I'm going to review a show that I actually reviewed last episode, but I did not finish it. So here's an updated review of the show Willow, the new continuation of the movie that came out in 1989, I believe. I actually saw that movie because of the show, because I after watching like the episode or two, I wanted to see, just like the roots of the show. Yeah, and it's a solid show. I think the one thing I didn't like about it though is that it's on Disney. But because I didn't like the PG-13 rating. I thought it could have used a little like raunchiness, like at least a little blood. But other than that, it was
Did the movie have that?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Might have, because it's what Lucasfilm, right?
It
Am I
might
wrong
have.
about that?
It might have. With Val Kilmer, he was
Mm.
Yeah,
Batman was in it?
Yep.
we talked about this last week on the podcast.
Yep.
He was trying to
Who you
remember the name.
talking
And I
to?
said Val Kilmer. Yeah,
Who you
Yeah.
talking to? Like,
I love being on the show with you
you
guys.
you keep saying things like, "Hey, you should remember this." Like, come on, man, you've known me long enough by now.
I love being on the show. So,
Sorry,
So
Disco, go ahead.
so Willow, back to Willow. This little what they call him in the show, this Peck, he's actually the sorcerer Willow, and they brought him back, the same actor from the movie, and I thought that was really cool because he's got like a memorable face, and you could see he's like much younger in the movie, and now he's still kicking ass in this new Willow show. So I thought it was really cool that they brought a couple of the characters from back then back, and even Christian Slater, like I mentioned in in the last
I remember
rendition.
that.
Yeah, and
Shut up.
so the
What up,
show pretty
Paige?
much follows Willow and Alora Dannon, who's like this destined super sorceress supreme that's going to save the world and save the world from this evil sorceress, I guess, Bav Morda. And she has to pretty much learn her powers because they try to hide her and keep her safe and hide her from her destiny, pretty much one of those story arcs. And so she this pretty much nobody girl is actually the most important woman in the whole like world, pretty much. It was really interesting seeing her kind of be this nobody, and then when she finds out she's a Laura Dannon, the mythical Laura Dannon, she still doesn't even believe it, and you kind of see that through her show because her powers aren't like fully, she can't fully use her powers because she's doubting herself. And so it's really nice when she actually comes to and fills her shoes, and she starts actually fighting the crone, who's like the villain in the series. And they have a really cool kind of epic magic battle, and I was like, oh dang, Laura's actually kicking up, and she has this magical wand, and they're like doing all this crazy magic and moving fast, and uh like souped up Harry Potter stuff almost. um all the characters, they worked well together. I liked Borman. I liked the princess. I liked the princess's guard. I forgot their names. I'm blanking, but they all kind of had their own little pizzazz and story arc. I thought the cheesiest one was the prince. He was just, I don't know, just like too soft for me. But I did like what they did with him. They threw him into like the underworld, and so the next season, we hopefully Laura Dannon goes to save him. I mean,
Now, are you
um,
sure there's no more episodes that you didn't
yeah,
see?
yeah,
You
I'm
sure the
sure.
show's over this time?
No,
You come
yeah,
back, come back with like a
I
month later.
had
You know what?
they just released another episode. It was a Valentine's break. No, yeah, because I had given a review on this already, and I was like just lost and just felt like it wasn't complete.
This
And
is
I was
so
like, yeah,
funny.
what was this? And then I found out that I had missed two episodes. One because of my brother. He had believed him. He said we saw this episode. We did not see it. And then I guess they did take like a New Year's type of break thing, and then
Yeah,
they just
okay.
randomly dropped the finale. And so I did complete it all, and I thought it was really cool. They crossed the Shattered Sea, which wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was like all frozen, so they were like bobsledding with this crazy sea
Oh,
creature.
interesting. Because I was like, why is it called Shattered? But it makes sense if it's
Yeah,
frozen.
because it's frozen. Yeah, so so they crossed it. They made it to the end, and they're like, what they were looking for wasn't there, and they had to figure it out. It was pretty cool. The all the stuff that they had to go through, the obstacles, and like I said, I kind of enjoyed the story. If you like that mythical, if you've seen the original and you like it, you're definitely gonna like this because it continues the story. They bring new enemies bigger than Bavmorda and greater, and so they kind of really pushing on to this like new arc. And uh, there was like a twist at the end that I thought was very interesting. So when the prince was knocked down to this underworld, he kind of came to and he looked around and he saw that there was like a evil Elora Dannon kind of rallying troops and stuff. And so it kind of excited me a little. Nice little twist to kind of prelude the next season, kind of set it up, and I'm really looking forward to where they're going with it. And like I said, the worst part was that it was Disney because there's literally one part where the princess got stabbed, and they made like a big deal of it to like pull it out, and there was just no blood and no nothing. Everything was clean, and I was just like, why even bring emphasis to that if it's just
Yeah.
so fake? Like,
Well,
I
think
don't
about every X-Men movie before Logan. Like Wolverine was stabbing people with claws and there wasn't blood.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I don't know. It just that's the only thing that really bothered me. Other than that, I really like the characters. It's not like the crazy best show, but it's definitely something to keep on the background. Or if you like science, if you like the fantasy stuff, sorcerers and kind of like little banter stuff. But I give it a. It's worth a shot. It's worth the watch if you're into that stuff for sure. And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. If anybody wants to comment, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought of Willow, or maybe Laura Dannon. Any of the characters turn you off, or maybe rubbed you the right way. Christian Slater was in it at the end. It was it was pretty cool what they did with it. And let me know what you guys think in the comments.
I keep
All right.
feeling like you're saying Laura Dern, the
Laura
actress.
Dannon.
I know, but I was like, I think of Laura Dern every time you say it. I was like, she was in Jurassic Park. Good for her.
Oh,
Good for
that's
her. And she was in the that other Star Wars movie. That, and I was looking up the actor who plays Warwick. I mean, the actor who plays Willow. His name's Warwick Davis. I didn't know he's the Leprechaun in the Leprechaun.
oh
Like the Leprechaun
wow.
series, like Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun goes to space, Leprechaun goes to the hood. It's him.
Man, he's like the source of many nightmares, man. I used to
Yeah,
be afraid of the leprechaun in the hood, man. He just looks so
yeah.
crazy.
What's he doing in the hood? You know?
Hey, he doesn't belong there.
Yeah, he's just trying to shine some shoes.
All right. Let's jump into final thoughts.
Oh,
What?
that's a good one, Rudy.
I have no idea what's going on.
Henry said, "When
That's
you
why it's
coming
funny because
back
it's
to
about
Jersey?"
you.
I might
Huh?
come back to Jersey in March, maybe. I'll let you know.
Okay. I'm very confused on what's going on right
There's
now.
like multiple
We went to
conversations.
Comic Con. We went to Comic Con, you, me, and it was one of the times Rudy was with us, or maybe the only time I
Yeah.
don't remember. And when we were walking by, they were promoting Jurassic World, and they were playing the theme from
Oh.
Jurassic Park. And you kept on saying, "Why are they playing Why are they playing graduation music?" And we're like, "No, that's the theme song to Jurassic Park."
Yeah, yeah. It sounded like graduation music. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
I'm funny sometimes. All right.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Um, give Last of Us a shot, whether it be the game, the show. I guess either way, preferably the game. I'm always going to stand by that. Play the game. But the show is it's not bad. It's a good show. I'm looking forward to see where they expand upon more. With the Last of Us series, and I mean, we only saw episode one. It wasn't bad, and let's see where it goes from there.
Yeah, boy. Disco.
My final thoughts is I got this really sweet deal on this shiatsu
I was
back
waiting for you to bring up the
massager.
chair. Yeah.
It is just so amazing. It
Mhm.
said it was $300 something, but I got it for like 40 something at Macy's. And
Nice.
Great.
honestly, it was the best 40 something
That's a
dollars I've
deal.
ever spent because this piece comes
Damn,
off.
bro.
Hmm.
Send that link to me,
It's like
son.
a portable
Hmm.
like shiatsu massager. So I like bring it into my car sometimes. And
Oh
so
yeah, you can just drop it behind your back.
yeah, so
Nice.
it's like if it's ever like hurting, it just really gets in there. I could just sit back and it's not too loud. It's portable. It's chargeable, and and it's just really cool, man. Just
Nice.
Nice.
souped up, hooked up my seat because I was just literally sitting on like a metal foldable
Yeah, your
chair
seat's
for
rough.
the
You literally
podcast.
have like a professional wrestling folding chair that you do the podcast on.
And that's really what it was. And I've been
Yeah.
sitting on like this aluminum chair, busting up my back for the podcast for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So now I got like a nice rocking chair
Hmm.
with the
I
Shiatsu
remember
massager.
when we used to do that in my apartment. We used to have those folding chairs also.
Hmm.
My God, my
Ours
ass would
was
be
cushioned. Like
numb by
his
the
was
time.
like straight up just like a hard
Yeah.
like metal like legit looked like that was about to go through like the Rock's skull. Like he had one of those chairs.
Yo, this conversation in
This
the
is
fucking
so
chat.
weird.
Um, Disco, send me the link to that chair, please. I'm not gonna even bother with this
I
chat
got it
right
at
now.
Macy's in person, so I don't even know. It was like,
No, you have to put the chat comments. Just put it in there. We're just not going to acknowledge it. Just put it in there, please. Start with the call your brother. Okay, or that one.
Oh, okay.
So just put it in there, just so the people can see. Leave it there for a little bit. So what were you saying, Disco?
Yeah.
I actually physically went into Macy's and got it, so I don't know
Oh,
if they
okay.
have a link, but I'll look on Macy's.
All right.
See if I send it.
My final thoughts. Um, I will not be with you guys for the next 2 weeks. Because I am going to Dubai next Tuesday for my wedding. So, um, I will not be here next week or the week after, maybe even the week after that. Because when I come back, I'm going straight to work, and then we'll still be trying to put our apartment together. So I don't know if I'm gonna have a space to record at yet, but I will try my best to be on
Where are you gonna
the
live?
episode.
What's your address? What's your social security number?
So that I'm gonna put in the description on the YouTube channel.
Nice,
So go
appreciate
check
it.
out the video. So and then I'll dox myself there.
There you go.
But
Who's gonna steal his identity first?
you gotta like and subscribe, and to every new subscriber, I'll send you my address. Um, so so go do that. But yeah, man. It's gonna be an interesting 2 weeks. My God, getting married.
All right,
Shit's
man.
getting real.
Early congratulations. Next time we'll
Becoming
see
an
this man, he'll
adult.
be married.
Becoming an adult. This sucks, but
Oh yeah,
um,
I guess I'm gonna intrude on your final thoughts and
okay.
take your claim and bring it back.
Oh,
I
right. Yeah.
I
We got some
almost
good
forgot
news. We
already.
got some
I
good.
I'm an
It happens.
engaged man. I'm off the market.
Yeah,
Oh,
boy.
I
congrats.
engaged to my girlfriend. She flew over for like this job interview, and she got the job. And then I proposed to her that day because I was like, "How
Nice.
can I make this day even better?" And
Nice.
you found a nice spot.
Oh, I
Congratulations,
forgot to
dude.
ask. Did she say yes?
She did say yes,
Okay.
or else I would not have brought it up.
I was gonna say, I don't think he would have reacted this way. That was the call. Hey,
She said no, so I just dodged the bullet. I'm happy about that. No. She said yes, and
Yeah.
so it's exciting. And
Awesome, man.
yep, yeah, it's official. It's happening. So we're getting old.
Nice. Yeah, dude.
now,
We're-
since you proposed to her now, before like the whole like Dubai thing, you could always be like, man, I was gonna plan this whole thing. This is the perfect moment. Like I was about to come out of a camel. It was gonna be insane. Like you could just come up with any scenario.
I was
now.
gonna come out
Nah.
of camel's hump.
It's funny because we were talking randomly, and she was just like, "You better not propose on my birthday." We were just joking, and I was like,
Oh.
"Ha, no, I'm not." And I was like, "Oh shit." That's exactly what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
I was like, "Thank God she said it." And I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna do it here." Like,
Ah, that's
surprise.
so funny.
was
Yeah,
so
because her
funny.
birthday is gonna be at
That's
the time
hilarious.
Yeah.
they're gonna be in Dubai with us, so Disco was gonna do it there.
I
Oh,
thought it'd be
man, that-
romantic to share the
yeah.
date, but she was like, "No, I'm not sharing that date. That's my birthday." I was like, "Okay, okay, queen, know your worth."
Oh, that's
Like,
hilarious.
I could have come out of a camel. You'll never know.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a 2-hump camel. You're gonna come out of one, and then Fergie was gonna come out the other.
Take
It's
Fergie
funny.
from the
She
Black
got
Eyed
me
Peas.
looking at the
Yeah.
aquarium in Dubai, and you
My
can like
hump,
swim with
my
sharks.
hump, my hump, my hump. My
Mm.
lovely lady.
And so
loves.
I YouTubed
Check
it,
it out.
and the
And then
first
Disco's
video was
like-
like this guy like almost getting eaten by a 14-foot shark in the Dubai thing.
Nice.
The shark like flew up to his face and like and just
Oh, right,
G-checked
at
him.
the aquarium. Yeah.
And he was just like, I was reading the comments because he was like talking about how he's feeling. He was like talking about how he was so nervous, he was shitting his pants, and sharks are way bigger up in person. And he actually was very composed for somebody shitting his pants, but I give it to him. This like 14-foot shark with crazy looking teeth came up, like all the rows, and just like went up to his face like 5 inches, 6 inches, and just circled him and just like was almost like sitting on his lap at one point. I was like, yo, this shark is doing the most. And my girl's just like, let's do that. I'm like,
Nah,
no,
good.
no, not even close.
Yo,
like I
how-
was thinking about
how-
it too, but after seeing that, I was like, get the hell out of here.
This shit's crazy. First of all, Henry, no, I'm the one who fumbled the ring, and maybe that's why you asked. But, dude, like, why are like girls love this crazy? Like, she's like, oh, let's go to things that could murder us, and it's just like they love like the serial killers. They love like all these like murder mystery podcasts, and then she's like, hey, this shark could kill me. Let's just go, play with it.
Let's dive in. She's
Like, what the fuck
my
is-
girl hit me up and was just like, let's do hot air balloons. I'm just like, I hate heights. Why are you choosing everything I hate? Like,
What's
Oh,
it called?
fuck.
Eslam, you just made me think of something. So at my job, one time I was talking to people. I was trying to sell like a TV package to somebody,
Yeah.
and then they were talking about like, oh, what channels do you want to make sure you have access to? And one of the ones they talked about was like, oh, Investigation Discovery. They want to see the whole thing with like the serial killers, like what you're talking about. And I just made a joke. I was like, oh, you like watch this? I was like, no, it's for my wife. I was like, yeah, she's probably planning on how to kill you. And this man's got silent. Like, didn't say a word. I was like, sir, you still there? He's like, yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, that dude realized because he probably like, this chick hates me. She's
Check on that
planning my
family.
end. Oh, that's so funny. And the conversation in chat's even funnier. Henry was like, because I said, why do women like that? And he's like, they like danger. And then this is what Rudy responded, because they do love fucking serial killers. And then Rudy responded again, I am Danger Henry.
Some Breaking Bad right there.
That's
Oh
funny.
man. Well,
Yeah,
Henry
there we go.
responds back.
Yeah. Then Henry calling you
Oh
out,
man,
bro.
bro, call your brother. You know.
Yeah, call your brother.
He
Jesus.
misses you.
He loves you. Thank you for listening to the Los
The
Wise Guys
long
podcast.
last
If you
thoughts.
like what you hear, follow us on social media. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Free for you to do. Immensely helps us out with our channel growth. Go check out the Los Wise Guys website. Thank you for listening and have a great week.